Wow. How in the world did everybody in chat get here before we did?
There
I
were
just
like 10 people over on YouTube at the very least.
Oh, I see what it is. It's the YouTube hooligans. I'm kidding. I'm not even gonna get negative at all because I gotta tell you, it's the celebration stream. Friends, we did it.
Woo!
It is it's what, 5 hours left?
Mhm.
And I have a whole crew, a whole cast, a whole collection of people to come hang out and have a little party, have a little fun. A passel of people.
Cast, crew, collection, community, a calm, if you would.
Oh, hey, oh, wow. That's pretty good stuff. Absolutely. And yeah, the Thursday aliens are invading. I want to just say, hey, Ren's out there, Ultimate Gabe, good to see you, my friend. Jason Sunday as well. Always good to see you, my cousin. Are we cousins? Are we, are you my evil twin, but disembodied voice is out there? Duke is here. Goblin Spoons, howdy to you. That's a great name, Goblin Spoons. Christopher says, oh, you've been listening to the hold music. Yeah, well, little did you know when we'd start. Here's even more hold music for you.
The holdest of music.
The holdiest of hold music. Greetings from San Antonio. A cache, sure. Stan Brown says a cache. Speaking of a cache, a corral? Sure. Okay, I'll go with it. Listen, I can't stand it no more. I've got to just say, hello, friends. Look at all of you. This music has got to go. Hey, congratulations to each and every one of you. Do me a favor. Let us start. Let's start with Merrick. Introduce yourself. Describe how much you love me and why. No, I'm kidding. Tell me a bit about yourself, and I might throw in an anecdote or two that I know about you that I might have just learned before we went live. But yeah, Merrick, you go first.
Excellent. Great. Hello, I'm Merrick. I am a game master for an Expanse stream on second Mondays. Love the Expanse, love the Age system, and huge fan of the 5th season. The Broken Earth trilogy, excellent books. I only discovered them last year and tore through them. Huge fan. And I love Troy. You're a nice guy.
See, yeah, absolutely. Also, you, as I understand it, you live in the wilds of Canada, where, as you described to me, I've not been, but everybody in Canada's first name starts with M, which is weird.
That is correct. Yep.
And you're
verifiably true.
Hobbyist moose hunter, beaver slapper, or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
They roam through our backyards constantly. It's a little hard against the snowdrifts right now, but I am in Edmonton, Alberta, and right now we are at minus 30 degrees Celsius.
No.
Yeah.
That's too cold.
I haven't left my house today.
Oh.
Normally, I only have to go out to put my kids on the school bus and take them off.
Put them on the school ice cube and slide them down the road to school.
Yeah, just in the general direction of the school.
Hope they make it without running into one of them moose beavers. Hiromi, you're up. They're good with their toques and such.
And
Hiromi,
ski poles.
A ski pole's nice. Hi, friend. How are you?
Hi, Tai. One night Hiromi, I'm Hiromi, they, them. I write and develop and culturally consult on things. No cultural consulting on this, but it's a thing that I do. These are some of the things that I've written, and yeah, no, working on this has been super fun. So
Yeah,
hope
Hiromi,
everyone enjoys it.
we have been on a couple of these together. I feel like we just should have a two-person show where we just travel around doing the thing that we do. But I'm a little upset because behind you there's a book that I keep coveting, and yet you have yet to send it to me.
Well, he's not a publisher, Troy.
How dare you?
Oh, yep.
I love it.
Oh,
Absolutely.
sorry. This is the book of adventures that I wrote one for.
Sorry. So sorry.
Here we go.
Wait, how many?
Yeah.
Why does everybody have this except for me? All right.
It was like a $9 million Kickstarter.
Fair enough.
Tomorrow, you never know.
Right? Yeah, there's still 4 or 5 hours. Nice. Okay, next up, LaShawn, do you see that show off? Hiromi's just showing off.
If it helps, I don't have that. So.
But you do have the requisite bookshelf, so that's we're all starting in the right direction. LaShawn, tell us about you and your association with the project, and certainly how much you love me is fine too.
Yeah, my name is LaShawn M. Wanick, and I am a speculative writer. I've written short stories, but I also work here and there on projects such as this. And although, to be fair, this is the first time I've actually worked on an RPG core book like this.
Nice.
But also, it's like I'm so excited because I love the 5th season. I'm absolutely so stoked that this is happening, and go on.
I was just going to say, it's pretty darn exciting, but I love that this is your first foray into tabletop role-play gaming writing. I mean, what a way to get into the biz. Many, many people have worked on far worse things,
It's true. Well, it's not, yeah. I'm actually quite stunned that I found myself in this, but I can't think of a better project, to be on, and it was a lot of fun to work on it. And I basically was the content writer. I wrote most of, well, not most. I wrote some of chapter 2 and chapter 3. Chapter 2 with the used cast, and chapter with the generals with the general explanation of the seasons. So that was fun.
Okay, I've got a ton of questions for you, LaShawn, and we'll be spending a lot of time talking about. I really love that. The idea of taking the lore from the books and moving it into a space where people can kind of utilize it as a resource to play a game. I'm just dying to hear more about that. But I will also want to be sure that we introduce Heather O'Neill. Hi, Heather.
Hello.
So Heather, really, really good. So Heather, tell us what you did for us.
Yeah, so I was kind of the Kickstarter marketing project manager, I guess is the wording we want to put on this. So headed up, kind of headed up. Sorry, backer kid. Yeah,
right, do the same thing. We all do it.
They do it too. It's okay. But yeah, we got together. Got the marketing word out. Made sure we had the right stretch goals kind of planned, and keeping an eye on everything, keeping an ey on what people were interested in and all that stuff. So kind of in the back end, would just meet in with Chris and the graphics,
me and
you and some other ops people who are doing the updates, just to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page. And not that I got to speak with NK Jemisin myself, but there was a lot. She was involved with a lot of things, which I was pleasantly surprised that she was involved. And Chris, you definitely got to be pretty chummy there time. But yeah, and that was kind of cool. So I really thought that was awesome. just like the overall, like just the amount of content, especially like this last week we've put out, like how much is
Yeah.
going to be in this game is exciting. It's also awesome.
Well, so
Uh,
Heather, you were sounding, I mean, when you said you kind of worked on the back end.
yeah,
Is if the back end were steering the front end and the
yeah.
sides and
I
the
guess behind the
like
scenes is the word I'd
it,
be. Yeah.
imagine if you had a bucket of flailing body parts like
Sure.
arms and legs and maybe a swearing mouth and all kinds of stuff. You just kept us all moving in the right direction. I was so pleased when you said you could join us, and I know that you might have to pop off because you
In a
have a
little bit.
trivia
Yeah.
night. Yeah, but it was just really great to be able to have you on stream because, yeah, behind the scenes kind of stuff, and you're a fun person to work with, and really, we just couldn't have done it without you.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that people might not always realize, but I'm just going to mention this now. And then Chris will like be like, here. When you're running a Kickstarter as a company, you can't put your whole company on hold to run a Kickstarter or backer
Mhm.
kit. Sorry, backer kit, crowdfunding, or anything. So it's like, there's people doing the ads or people putting the page together, but they also have to be doing all of their other things. And just to have somebody to kind of like keep us on track and like, I went around and got a lot of the articles set up so that get the questions for the interview, give them to Chris or NK, so that we could get those rolling in the back end. So it's just a lot of that kind of stuff that's happening that you just don't realize how much time it takes when you're trying to also run a whole company.
Yeah,
For
Come on.
sure. Yeah,
Now,
Heather's a huge help. We worked with her first on our Cthulhu Awakens campaign last year. And when this came around, we were like, let's get Heather again.
we want
So,
Heather back. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, Chris, while we are really going to spend the rest of the stream sharing accolades about Heather and all the contributors, but who are you, sir?
I'm the founder and president of Green Marine Publishing.
Dun, 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 dun. And that's it. That's all you need to know.
I mean, I could go on if you want, but that's
Let's start with your childhood when you were growing up. But yeah, founder of Green Ronin, president of the Green Ronin TTRPG Club for everyone, and and so this is our celebratory stream, and Stan says that about covers it. Jay Gray says, "What? That's who you are." His
I guess
holiness.
relevant to this project. I didn't do any writing in the core book, but it does use the Adventure Game Engine, which is a rule system that I designed originally for our Dragon Age role-playing game, and then since then it's kind of become our house system. So it also powers Blue Rose, Fantasy Age, Modern Age, and Cthulhu Awakens. So
And
if you-
ThursdAGE.
yeah, yeah. If you've oh right, the Expanse.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, if you've played any Age game, then you already know the basics of how to play 5th season. But each time we do a different game, it does have bespoke new elements to it to better represent the genre or the property or what have you.
Well, fantastic. I do want to talk a little bit about, can we describe, Jay Gray, are you already asking for a second edition of the 5th season RPG? I'm kidding. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Fantasy Age second edition. And that is definitely something that is coming, but today it's all 5th season. And then other questions too. And the Age system runs. The Age system does power me. I am powered by the Adventure Game Engine.
What's your favorite stunt, Troy?
Well, my stunt tables are very different. Talk about bespoke. They are very heavily curated. And you will see a few of them, and you have already witnessed some up to this point. But speaking of bespoke elements for the Adventure Game Engine and how it works with all of the different titles, please describe them all in detail. No, for 5th season, what's the element? Who wants to kind of tackle this? Because it can be Chris, it can be Hiromi too, if you want to share. But what is the element that you would call bespoke about this?
Well, I think the comm system is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
it's the comm is such an important part of the setting that the way the game works, the first thing you do as a group is to create your comm, and then you make characters because your characters are going to be informed by what the comm is like. And then the comm is something that you track over time. There's you have a little character sheet for it, and as things happen, both within the player character's control and not in their control, the fortunes of the comm can rise and fall, and that's reflected in the stats that the comm has. So that's the biggest thing. Also, the use casts are obviously unique to this season because that's Nora's concept.
Yeah, I mean, LaShawn, you are deeply embedded in the content, and you have contributed to the use cast kind of transmission from the Broken Earth trilogy to the 5th season. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in the books there are, if I recall, please bear with me. It's
Oh,
actually wow. I believe there are 7 use casts, and they're all basically based on different traits. So there's the leader use cast, and they're basically the heads of the comm. They're the ones who are responsible for making major decisions. There are the strongbacks, who are the muscle, who basically they're the strength, and so on. And it's kind of like the use casts they play a certain role, particularly during the 5th seasons when they do come, but it's not something where it's like a stereotype. It's more, this is where they are, where people are useful to do things that can help the comm drive. And it's an easy way of, it's an easy way of categorizing the way I see it.
So would we file that under, for TTRPG nerds? And LaShawn, you are off the hook as far as TTRPG-nists, so don't worry about that. But are we talking like, are they sort of a version of classes? Are they? I mean, how would we kind of draw the corollary?
You know what? I can see that. Yeah. It is a kind of a class. Like, for instance, the Loris, which are my personal favorite. The Loris are those who know the history, and they know things that help make the comics thrive. So they know history, they know stories, they know the lore. And so they're the ones, if you need to find out, like, for instance, how were people able to survive a certain sickness? Lorists are supposed to know. Supposed to.
Yeah. Right.
Some of them might not, but lords are also, I like the lords because they travel. They'll travel. They have the freedom to travel to different comms without being. I don't want to say penalized, but they're more like, what's the word am I looking for?
Is it because they carry the information and so they kind of have to transmit it? They're kind of carrying ideas.
There's certain protection that their use cast affords, because they're basically the information keepers, and you don't want to kill them because of that.
Right. Yeah. You need to learn and teach and share info. Very interesting. Heather, I know that you have to run pretty soon, don't you?
Yeah, I got to run. Actually, I wanted to hear that part from LaShawn. That was interesting. So I figured I can wait a minute or two. But yeah, I do have to go. We got a couple more hours in this, so hopefully, if you didn't get in, I saw some comments that said they thought they missed this. They did not miss it.
No, you did not miss it.
So you can still go over there and get it. So probably Troy will put the link in there, I'm sure. But
to the end,
you all, and I will see you on the next one.
Heather,
Thanks,
enjoy your
Heather.
trivia night tonight, and thank you for everything. Truly, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. All right.
Yes, thank you.
All right, bye-bye. I love how to the very, very end, Heather was helping project manage. I'm sure Troy was get that link out. Like, yes, that's a thing I need to do. Absolutely a wonderful woman to work with. And, shoot, we didn't get what I wanted would just, we'll pull this up, but she's working on a project, the Cobalt 8, My Baby, or the Cobalt 8,
Yeah.
Your Baby? Your Baby
No,
or My Baby?
My baby.
Okay. But the marketing and the ads and the memes and stuff for that are just absolutely the best. So we'll drop a link in there too, so you can get a sense of that.
That just ended, actually. So.
Do the crowdfunders ever end? It feels
Well,
Late
fair question.
pledges.
right. But there is a question in chat real quick and inspired by the details that LaShawn was sharing. So the PCs are embedded in their community. Things the PCs do impact on the community and vice versa, more like how RQ Glorantha embeds the PCs into the setting. I'm not sure what RQ Glorantha is, so apologies if I just... Oh, RuneQuest, thank you. I was like, either it's a game or I've just sworn in a language I don't know. Who wants to tackle that question for Gerbo, the druid?
Want to take it, Hiromi?
Yeah. So, like, the characters in the comm are very much interconnected. Part of the reason why your characters are worth playing is because they are able to shape things to a certain extent and to help the comm survive in the stillness that the world of 5th season, because it's not a terribly hospitable environment. Like, the Earth itself is trying to kill everyone, and so, like, everything, or at least most of what you will want to do, is do things to help your comm, and at the same time, anything that affects your comm will naturally affect you. And sort of like a crystallized way of thinking of that, and how that's different from most other RPGs, is a little sidebar that I put into the quick start entitled "Don't Start No Shit." That's my one swear for the stream.
That's it. We spent well spent, my friend.
And the basic, the gist of that is that if you want to solve interpersonal problems and aggressiveness and just people being angry within your comm, you're going to want to avoid violence as much as possible, because they're your neighbor. If you beat someone up or kill them, everyone else is going to be upset with you, and you're just going to have to live with that. So it's very much the comm and your characters are interconnected and hermeneutic. The effects go both ways.
Got you. Okay. So, and did you say hermeneutic?
Yeah, it's
the only reason I ask is because it has a good mouthfeel, and I just want it to be a real word. So just
it is. I think it might be specific to
Herman's probably.
Theory. I want to say Heidegger, but I don't think that's right.
All right. Well, you are really ramping it up here, Hiromi. You're elevating the stream to places it has not been before, and I do appreciate that. So, go ahead, Chris.
Just briefly, for folks who haven't read the books, we talked about the comm a lot because the setting is post-apocalyptic, but it's actually not one apocalypse, but many apocalypses happening over time. And so, it's like the world has already been affected by many terrible things. And the whole point of the comm is that it's how you're going to survive the next 5th season, which is the name for when Father Earth unleashes some other terrible thing that you need to get through.
Because this Father Earth sounds like a real cranky bastard.
He is, but he also has reason to, but I won't spoil the books for you. So yeah, that's why there's so much emphasis placed on that, because in the game, fifth seasons can happen, and in fact, it's likely during your campaign that one is going to happen. So all those use casts are, they're preparing for the calm to try to survive the next thing. And you don't want to kill people in the calm because you're denying the calm a resource. If a new season starts next week and you've killed the doctor, like bad news.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Troubling.
Yeah.
Ryan says an embarrassment of apocalypses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well, no, I thought you were
Yeah.
talking. I thought you were talking about the forest of tongue trees, where you get the apocalypse. You just
Oh God.
it's just attacking from all directions. Um, let's make that some canon, okay? Let's
I was
can
gonna
we
say,
can we
did
can we
you
write that up?
did you write stats for a season creature where the trees grow tongues?
Hiromi's still just murdered me dead earlier with the very quick stat up of Gravy Squatch. Now, Merrick, you've read the books. You are an encyclopedia of this. I watched the stream that you did. It was very informative. I got Disembodied Voice says, "No, that's my nightmare now." Thanks, Troy. Hey, you know what? My work here is done. Stream over. But Merrick, you also helped out. What was really great is you were because you're such a pal, and everybody's a pal if they're pally enough. You got the fifth season early look at the quick start. And partially was just so that we could fact check it because your fifth season stuff. Tell me a bit about what you thought of the quick starts and just generally sort of your thoughts on any of the conversation that we're having thus far.
Yeah. So I got to do that review stream with John, who runs Abraxas Precipice, one of the other Expanse streaming things. Great show, nice guy. And yeah, it was really fun to go looking through the quick start as a fan. Obviously, the love for the setting, for the feel of the world, not just like make a cool game, but make a cool game that was also really, really recognizably fifth season. There in spades, absolutely
Nice.
excellent job. Like Hiromi and Chris, like I loved it.
Awesome.
And I mean, I thought just one of my the adventure is incredible. It's super fun. Like a great sort of expansion of stakes, like stepping up of difficulty and danger and challenges. But the part I love most are the pre-made characters because they all have like a lot of personality. I can see myself playing each one of them in a completely different way, and every one of them seemed fun. So excellent quick start, great introduction to the world in the game, I think.
That was Hiromi's adventure, so good job, Hiromi.
Well done.
Thank you. I'm glad you had fun.
I love that, and that is, of course, the thing that we're happy to hear when you are thinking about running a session of fifth season. I mean, what are your thoughts? Have you already sort of gathered your comm and have you recruited people? Are you ready to roll? I mean, talk to me a bit about sort of that opportunity to play in the world that is so well represented, but as a tabletop.
So I don't have my group together yet, but I have the players in mind. I haven't approached them, but after we did that review, I was talking to a couple of friends about it, and one person who hadn't read the books yet. I was like, please borrow the book. And he's already finished it. He went out and bought the other two books. He's super pumped. That's one person in. And so I can't wait. I think it's going to be really, really cool. And I think that the best part about it will be that investment in the game and the characters rather than the one shot pick up, have a fun night, and then move on to the next game. Like I want to see the growth and the change and so on. And like,
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
looking forward to that.
and and I'm actually really looking forward to kind of seeing people around the table bring this to life in streams, and because I'm just very curious to sort of see what the different comms will look like and the
Mhm.
kinds I mean, that to me is just absolutely fascinating. And I was thinking, LaShawn, when we were talking about the different casts, right? Am I saying that? Is it the different casts, or is it the different? Is it casts, or you're like
Use
Use
cast.
cast.
use
Cast,
cast?
but it's also been shortened to cast.
Okay, good. I
Yeah.
just wanted to be sure that I wasn't doing. I mean, I could tell you were like, yeah, close enough. But so we talked about a few of them. Now there is. So who is anybody? Can you give the 7, or is it 7 or 8?
It's
Is it
7. So
7?
officially it's
Seven.
7. Leader. So leader, strongback, Loris, resistance, which are not, they're not resisting the system. It's more they're resistant to disease.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're
Uh,
tough.
Yep. Breeders, who are kind of responsible for the children, and but they also, I like the breeders too. So they basically, they're their name. They not exactly pump out kids, but they are the ones who are making sure that the comm survives by having kids, basically.
I
And
see. So
regulars.
what does that mean? Like sort of matchmaking and that kind of thing, or are they also sort of like? I would imagine it's not just sort of lounging about and having children appear, but that it's also like some defense and strength and teaching and nurturing and that kind of thing.
Yep. And they're also responsible like for health. So like they're the ones who has the best knowledge of sexual health in the comm. They're good at they're also good at relationships, making sure that the relationships, be it romantic or mostly romantic, but could be also platonic as well. Making sure that those kinds of relationships are healthy, and that even I would even say as far as having knowledge of medical, as far as miscarriages or things of that nature,
Like midwifery kind of.
midwifery,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
All right. So the
breeders,
breeders.
I already said
Innovator?
Lord.
Innovator.
There's the
Innovator.
innovator. Okay.
Innovators, yes, that's what I was thinking. Innovators and hunters. So the innovators are the kind of like, they're considered the engineers of the comm. And then hunters, hunters is the 7th cast that are, they're depending on where the comm is, it's probably, they're more useful in comms that are not, that are more there's a long history with the hunters. They're considered not a use cast anymore, but a lot of comms still use them because they bring in food to the comm during the 5th seasons. So
I see. Okay, and so are we missing anybody? Innovators. Do we say the hunters? There's the
Loris,
the florist, the candlestick maker, the baker, the
The resistance.
the resistance. That yeah.
And leadership.
I did want to leadership, right? But leaders. No, I'm kidding. But Hydrara, literally, I was trying to pay attention to LaShawn, and you were making me laugh because Hydra suggested that I was asking how babies were made. I know how they're made. It's not the first gravy squatch conversation I've had, but I do want to talk about comms. and the variety of comms, and because that just seems like another axis of variation and opportunity to have a different experience. Let's just talk about the anatomy of a comm. We know that they're made up that these different groups. And now, can you have a comm and not have somebody who is, let's say, I mean, I'm clearly you know, if you want your comm to flourish, you will need a breeder, or you know, those kinds of roles. But can you function without a particular one, or do you need all of them?
Well, so the term calm covers like all sizes of communities, right? So,
Okay.
And there's also the role of tectonic instability, which is a big part of the setting, where basically there's an area where earth tremors and things like that are pretty well controlled down by the equator. But the further you get from there, the more unstable things are. So, you know, that's a reason like that you might have some hunters, because, you know, if there's a volcanic eruption or something like that that destroys your fields, you know, be good to have some hunters to go find some food for you. But yeah, like in your game, you don't necessarily have to have like all seven. But those will probably be there'll be NPCs within the comm who have those roles.
With that said, there are times where you may actually, the opposite may be true, where you may actually have too much of a certain use cast. And so strongbacks tend to fall in this category a lot, because there's always, you know, a bunch of people who are able to, you know, lift and carry the heavy loads, which can either make or break, you know, a comm during a fifth season. Because on the one hand, a lot of strongbacks could be good for protection, but you have to also consider resources, and are they using up resources, or are they just, you know, eating all the food?
Sure.
And this is where the leadership cast is very crucial, because they're the ones who gauge the health of a comm the most. And if they see that they just have too many strongbacks who is taking up too many resources, they can make the decision to let some of those strongbacks go and fend for themselves, because they're the strongest. So chances are they're going to survive out, you know, outside of the common.
Very interesting.
That's what we hope.
Rough.
Sure, but let's make no bones about it. We're talking about in an apocalyptic world where things are very rough. This is. I mean, rough doesn't really. I mean, there are these. Hiromi described these bugs. These bugs haunt my dreams. They essentially they're. Yes,
boil bugs.
Thanks, LaShawn. Yeah, the boil bugs. Yeah, so basically, like they're just all cool, like friendly little whatevers, or they're just not bad until the fifth season comes, and then they like slurp up water and boil up, and then they come and poke you with their proboscis and cook you up so they can eat you. Boil bugs because they boil you alive.
Yeah, outside of a season, they're carrion feeders. They eat meat, but they don't eat live meat. And then during a season, they'll eat you. They'll eat you fast.
Make it swarm.
Well, and I definitely want to get into the whole what a fifth season is, but I'm still kind of stuck on comms. Please, Merritt, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I ask a mechanical question about comms?
Yeah.
So when you're talking like the character sheet for comms, are we seeing like abilities like a character that are maybe ranked by the use casts, or is it something like really high level like prosperity and resources or something like that?
So there are 5 primary traits for comms, which line up with the sort of most common of the major use casts. So you have strength, resistance, innovation, leadership, and resilience, which match up to strong back, resistant, innovator, leadership, and breeders.
Cool.
And then you also have 3 secondary traits, which is size. So like a combination of what the population is and also physical size. There's also cache, referring to store caches, or for people who aren't giant 5th season nerds who have sat there. Sorry.
Not money.
We might have a
cache
couple
being
of those on
what
this
people have
stream, yeah.
stored and whatnot. And then stability is sort of the comm's ability to weather misfortune. So like there are definitely stats for comms, and those will kind of affect how the comm reacts to problems, and as well as like what kind of resources you might have, or what kind of problems your characters might face.
Mm-hmm. So
also one of the steps that you do is you roll on some tables and things to determine what the last year has been like at the com. So that gives you something concrete that your characters can interact with when you're creating them, so you can think about like what has happened in the last year, and how has that affected the com and me, and so on.
I was definitely thinking along the lines like LaShawn, when you were saying like maybe you have too many strong backs, that like you, instead of just kicking them out the door, you trade them to another community for some other people, and like try and make that friendly. And I'm like, oh man, but then the 5th season hits and they've got more strong backs than you.
Yeah. It is possible to change use casts also. So like just because you're born into a cast, you aren't like trapped there forever. So like if you were born a strong back and then the innovators notice that you're super clever, and good at building things, like you can become an innovator. So
that reminds me a little bit of a question that I'd love for us to kind of touch on, as much as we're able to, understanding that we're all kind of coming to this with different levels of passion and immersion in TTRPG space and writer space and the whole thing. But N.K. Jemisin shared when Chris did the interview that we posted on the Ronin Roundtable blog. Chris, you tipped me off that hey, Nora had some updates, some clarifications, and it was a very interesting moment of saying, okay, so things are pretty rough in the books, but the translation of kind of the level of, she mentioned straight up fascism, and and that there is a difference between sort of maybe the intensity in the Broken Earth trilogy of that kind of struggle and strife, and what we will see, or what you may potentially see in a 5th season session. Like it's not necessarily where everybody's going to be running sort of a little dictatorship, or maybe they are. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm wanting to sort of open that up as a dialogue to sort of see that translation from the books into the TTRPG space. It feels like there might need to be just some adjustments made, and I'd love to hear us talk about that a bit.
Well, so there's a difference between how the com functions day to day when it's not a 5th season, and then what happens when there is a 5th season. So, most comms, no matter how they operate, most of the time when there's a season, they become authoritarian, and the leadership cast tries to assess like, what do we need to get through this,
right,
but that's not all the time. So in some comms don't do it that way. So if you can have a comm that's like, we're going to be democratic even during a season, like you can do that because people are different. So
I even note that in the 5th season section. It's the leadership section. I note that there are indeed some cons that they basically do it more democratically, and everyone gets a vote in the com on how to do things, and so they become their own leadership, so to speak. So,
Would you
I
say that
gotcha. Go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
there was that kind of touches on another thing that has been like in the back of my head, that like when we're talking about the possibility of a com having too much of a certain cast, if a com's totally democratic, then all leadership are superfluous. And you're just like, we're just gonna vote. We don't we don't need someone born into this system.
I think there's still a role for the leadership cast in, like assessing and framing the questions that are taken to the vote, right?
But in
So,
real life, though, I mean, no, I'm kidding.
yeah, we definitely don't have any democracies with any sort of leadership.
Yeah, well, jeez. Yeah, Mercy knows how much progress we make with all the leaders we have.
Yeah, well,
100%.
that's a different topic. But,
It is indeed. It is indeed. But Merrick, you were going to say something as well, and I want to make sure we don't jump over that.
Yeah, I was just curious, like if if it had been written along the lines of maybe like regionalized, like would you, the writers, think that like democracy survives more in the central areas where things are more stable, and that you get more
Ooh, good question.
authoritarian as you like? No,
there's an
it's
empire
not a
there.
danger scale.
in fact, it feels more the opposite.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly, right.
Which
Menacing
is
and
interesting.
scary.
That's actually very interesting. I never actually thought about that. But yeah, it's like the democracy is more geared towards the rural, and the more out of the way comms, whereas the more city large comms are almost ridiculously so, like, held down by leadership. It's interesting. I haven't really thought about it.
Like they take the excuse of a fifth season to tighten their grip even more.
Yeah, there's also something to be said for so the equatorial comms, so like the ones closer to the equator, because they have tectonic stability, they don't have to rebuild. They don't have to build with the idea that their structures have to survive earthquakes and other disasters.
Thank you, Paul.
Which means that they have more. They as a society accumulate more wealth, and if leaders are a tiny bit self-serving, I don't know when a leader would ever do that. Then their kids and their kids and their kids end up accumulating wealth and power, at which point it becomes a very leadership-heavy society, which is kind of why it does, like LaShawn was saying, it kind of goes the opposite, where the further away you get from the equator, and the highways. So there are highways. There are no cars on them, but there's like elevated highways, imperial roads that also have seismic stability to a point, and they really just go to like major cities. So if you're in a major city or you're directly in between major cities, you probably have an amount of safety, and so your leadership cast is probably wealthier. And I'm not going to say that they're always going to be jerks, but there's a tendency towards that. And then away from that, you could have anarchist communes, like just straight up.
Yeah.
Very interesting. The more that we have talked about this, and I also just real quickly, I wanna share this. We will.
Hey.
4 hours left. Look at that, 172, 971. Over 2,000 backers. Phenomenal. I do want to jump down to this part. So what is that? 8 total stretch goals unlocked?
Sweet.
And we've got 2 left, and I'm looking at some of the folks in chat, and I think that you need to pony up and $5,000, $10,000 worth of some stuff, and let's get some 5th season encounters. Honestly, I knew we were going to get to that digital map pack, but I really wanted it to happen. I'm a bit of a maps nerd, but I just love the idea of that. We've got, but the other thing that I wanted to make sure we touched on, really pretty stoked about this, as well they should be. Sorry, I'm scrolling so fast here. Crystal Shard dice, $8. Those are pretty darn cool. They and some folks have asked, they don't come with the box, but I do hand deliver them. Well, I don't hand deliver them. I carry them to your home in my mouth, and I spit them into your hand
Come on now,
at the door. Yeah,
Side of gravy.
There are people who would pay
sorry.
extra for that.
That at least $2 of those are me just carrying around dice in my mouth. But I wanted to also say to looking at the I wanted to thank MA Preventure. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but that is sort of my signature move outside of spitting dice in your hand. But read the interview, and it was great. I mean, when the more that I'm exposed to all of the elements of the 5th season, there you can see why Nora's work is so celebrated, because she's really captured some fundamental truths, and not just it's the truth of not knowing for sure, and the debate between leadership and the castes and all of these roles and the turmoil and tumult in a land of turmoil and tumult. Just phenomenal. I mean, genius work, of course. I'm wondering now, let's say I'm playing and I'm thinking I'll probably be, the gravy cast or whatever, and they're the 5th season comes. Like, is it sort of like someone hands out invitations and balloons and things, or like, how do you know the 5th season is coming? Is it just because it's the 5th one, or does some shit go down?
Well, you'll very much notice, because it'll be like a massive earthquake or a tidal wave, or like all your crops die because of some new blight, or like the form of a season can vary like very widely. So that's the thing. It's like you don't know what the specific challenge is that you're going to have to face in the next one. So that's why you try to plan for all the eventualities if you can, because I don't even know have seasons ever repeated. I don't recall, but anyway, there's a lot of different kinds, and the game moderator can make them up if they want to as well. So but you definitely know when it's happening, because the world will change around you in bad ways.
In real destructive ways. Yeah. And to the degree that in a 5th season, that things that were once sort of a pet become pretty vicious. And let's talk about it. I mean, like, let's just get into let's have a 5th season right here. From the standpoint of the Broken Earth trilogy, is there just sort of like an understanding of what is coming? Like, oh no, it's locusts, or oh no, it's the gravy drought, or something along those lines. I mean, LaShawn, do you want to talk a little bit about that, and Merrick, maybe add your thoughts as you're go for it, LaShawn.
Yeah. So it also depends. It depends on where the disruption took place, because there'll be it could take place in one region, and like way across the continent, nobody would be affected. So these things could be localized, or they could have huge, widespread, effects. So most of them I believe has to do with the shifting of tectonic plates, volcanic ash thrown into the air, things of that nature. But and I have there's been some seasons where it's just general weirdness. I think I wrote one where it's like there was a lake that just turned red and everything died around it. So it was like that was called the season of blood because the water basically turned red. It's like, almost biblical proportions, but there's no religion in the 5th season.
No, there's just all don't liking Father Earth.
Yeah, it's all myth and legend. So yeah, it's like the water turned red and we don't know why, but people, but things died. That's a season. we have to think about where we're going to get our water supply, and
we lost all of our fish, and
how we're going to live with that. So there's been acid rain. There's been let me see, what was the one that there was a season where people went blind.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that, and and some of it, I think it was one that people just had like these mental. It wasn't even physical. It was like these mental.
Season of madness.
Yeah, season of sadness, where there is just an abnormal number of people who just had woke up with these deep, depressive, manic, episodes, and no one can explain it. It was very weird. I had fun writing that.
That's cool.
So one of the things I'm getting to learn, LaShawn, as we hang out together, is that you like kind of throwing some of that stuff out there and sort of imagining, people, going through that and surviving. And, I don't know if you've ever played a tabletop role play game, but you're ready.
I actually have played one. I did a Dungeons and Dragons game that my sister put together, but it was her version of Dungeons and Dragons. So it was tabletop, but it was basically she homebrewed a whole bunch of stuff.
A lot of house rules.
Yeah. So I have played it, and I'm aware of tabletop games, like role-playing games. I collect a lot of core books.
Because they're great reference books, right? Because they're awesome reference, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
They're
beautiful.
Absolutely.
Mary, did you want to maybe touch on some of do you have a particular age that you recall, or not, 5th season rather, from the here I'm about ready to sell LaShawn on Adventure Game Engine titles. But when it comes to 5th seasons, any that stick out that don't necessarily give anything away?
Oh, there was this one mysterious one where it was based on a rumor. So it wasn't even, we're not even sure it happened, but basically, was it the Sanzai race? There was a season where there was I want to call it a city. It was a city com, and they thought that they basically thought they had all the food they needed when a season hit, and they did not, and they ran out of food. And so there are rumors, we don't know if it really happened or not, that they turned to cannibalism.
That's where my mind went right away.
Yeah.
Mostly because, LaShawn, you've trained me on the stream now. I'm ready for any disaster of the most horrific.
That's the season of teeth.
The season of teeth. That's what it's called. The season of
It's called the season of teeth.
And
you got to get your protein.
Yeah, from that season, it actually the leadership afterwards changed things so that now you have to like become more they made it so that comms became more agricultural, and they made it so that you have to raise a certain amount of food to store away in your cache in case let's see, another season hits like that, which is why they decided growing food is much better than going out and hunt, which is why the hunter cast is now falling out of decline because or they're declining because they want all comms to be more agricultural. So
Interesting. And probably have
so
sharper
yeah,
teeth.
but yes, also teeth. Yes.
Go ahead, Chris.
There's a concept in the setting of stone lore, and this basically like
Yeah.
rules that have come down through the generations that basically give you advice on how to survive. So that would be an example where after the season of teeth, they were like, more agriculture. Yeah, that some of them are like kind of hard and fast, but there's interpretations and so on. But it's an interesting aspect and something that the lorists, of course, like that's a big thing of theirs.
You know what? It was interesting as well. Sorry, America. I'll just add this one piece and then it's all yours. But the idea that what I'm really starting to understand is while there is a separate sort of a separation of these various comms, there is still an interdependence and sort of I'm very much looking forward to my books getting here. They weigh about 80 pounds each, and so but I am so I'm interested in sort of that how the comms decide amongst themselves that they need to get rid of some of these to add a little bit of those and sharpen up the teeth to get ready for this and that, and I'm imagining that the lorists traveling around and gathering, learning, sharing, exchanging has a lot to do with that. Merrick, go ahead.
So I was going to comment on stone lore and how, like, in reading the books, I always loved how, like, they hint at, of course, it's changed and it's evolved and so on, but the scope of the way that the stillness has lived is tens of thousands of years. And so, like, the fact that this reliable knowledge is widespread across all of these cultures and for so long is something that's really, really interesting. And like building that in through the lorists and the leadership cast is really cool, really resilient, like just a fun thing about the setting that I love.
That is awesome. So we get this question every time we talk about fifth season, and I believe Merrick, you might have been responsible for one of these for this question, but in a previous stream. But Henry asks, "I've missed most of the stream driving to work, etc. Have stone eaters been discussed in detail?"
Not on the stream.
No. I mean, yeah. There's probably not a lot. I mean, where do the stone eaters? We just published actually Steve Kenson published on the Ronin Roundtable blog the When Are We? And I think that if I'm wrong, correct me, people who actually know what the hell they're talking about, that the Stone Eaters part of the story is not quite intersecting with where we're at in the fifth season versus the books.
Troy, those are just a myth.
Oh, you look positively malevolent.
I for a moment, my game master face.
I saw it just like a mask. It just fell. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, okay. Well, there you go, Henry. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
So, like the game. It's not like now you can play the events of the novel. It's not that sort of thing. The idea in general is that it's before the events of the novel. So the Stone Eaters obviously become important in the story of the novels, but it's kind of up to the game master to decide if they want to use them in their own stories or not.
Gotcha. We should ought to talk about this, but I'm pulling up the one moment, please. Hold, please. When we are looking at Chris the stretch goals, one moment while I loop. There we go. Which one of these is it? The GM's kit that you need to? It's an add-on.
Yes.
But everything else to date, I mean, we're looking at this that comes. It's now just a part of a new facet of their pledge.
So even for the GM's kit, everybody gets a PDF of that as part of their pledge. But if you want the print copy, which is hardback GM screen, some reference cards with stunts and actions and things like that on them, and then an adventure by Nell Raban. That's like that.
Hey.
Yeah, then that is an add-on. So you would need to add that on in BackerKit's crowdfunding thing. They're still in beta, so they don't have like a slick add-on thing. Essentially, what you're doing is just adding money to your pledge, and then when it gets into the pledge manager, like after the campaign, then you've got that much money, and you can get what you like as far as add-ons go. Spend the money you have, or add more if you want different things. So
surely you want to add more, friends. Surely.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. So
there are still signed copies from N.K. Jemisin available.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, yeah. So it's a book plate, and that is. Boy, I wonder how many we have. I do want to check and see. Maybe I'll ping somebody in Slack and ask. Unless you know, Chris, do you know how many of the book plate bundle we have left?
I'm looking.
Nice.
We have 150 left.
All right. So that means that every one of you needs to. No, I'm kidding. You don't need to go buy, because really they are out when they're out. But that's still quite a few people, and some there. I mean, it's a big bundle, but it's it's got the author's signed book plate, which is pretty nice. John Bell says, "Oh, I got to go, but this was super fun. Can't wait to get the book and all the other rewards. Good luck on hitting all the stretch goal amounts." Thanks, John. Appreciated.
It is, the book plate is tied to the top tier, so you're getting, there's a special edition of the game that's Crowdfunder exclusive, that's fancier basically, and you'll get that and the standard edition, so you can have standard one at the table, pretty one on the shelf, or however you want to do it.
Like any true book nerd or comic book nerd. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. So it's the N.K. Jemisin book plate bundle.
That's right. Up there on the screen,
even level is called.
Yeah. And folks can read along right there on the screen, right next to Chris's head, and it will. Looking forward to my officially fancier book. Derek, you know what happens with the fancier version? Chris comes to your house and spits it into your hand. One of my favorite things about doing a stream, especially when we've got Chris Pramus on, is I try to count how many just dejected, sort of disappointed, shaking of the heads that I get, and I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty good. I feel good about it.
Well, in the early years of English punk rock, there was a phenomenon called gobbing, where it became like a real thing to do for people to just gob up and spit at the band while they were playing, and the bands they weren't so keen on that because
I
they're
would. You
trying to
just
perform and people are literally throwing loogies at them. So
okay. That's my 5th season right there. Right there.
yeah.
I'm literally holding back like a gag reflex.
Yeah.
But so you've done it, Chris. You win. You win ThursdAGE.
I have not done it.
No. You've done it to me, is
Oh,
what
to
I'm saying.
you? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I
No.
win.
Yes, you win that. But no, we don't have to go into more detail on the gobbing, which now just opens up a whole new gobsmacked. This is just very upsetting. All of the things that I learned from the 4 of you. I mean, literally traumatized, but in the best way. Listen, the backer kit campaign was gangbusters, and it takes a lot to get a backer kit, a Kickstarter, a crowdfunder up and going and successful. But boy, when you've got work like N.K. Jemison's, it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, her world building is just like so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that
Absolutely.
that certainly helps.
Brian, you sorry, real quick, Merrick. Brian, you stop it right now. No more discussion of this. Merrick, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, for anybody who hasn't read the books yet, like they're a meal of a book. Like I loved them, and what I would do is I'd read like a chapter or two, and then I need to sit down and digest it. I'm like, I need to take a break and just think about what has just happened.
Reflect on
I
my
go
life
back
and
to
what
this
means.
world. Yeah, like Jemison is an incredible writer, like really, really good. So
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to look at LaShawn's face, and you agree.
I basically just about it in my reviews, but whenever I'm in person, I get very tongue-tied because it's very. I remember just reading it, reading. I remember reading the first book, and I was like, "What?" And then I had to get the second book, and I read it, and I was like, "What?" And then the third book, I was like, "What?" And then went back to the first book and had to read it all over again because, like, the number of times my mind was blown, and it was incredible. And as a writer, I am deeply envious, but at the same time, I'm also like excited because it's like this was a lot of fun to read, and yeah, I loved it to bits. So
what I love is that you have such a passion for it and then contributed in such an important way to other people being able to bring this home around the table or on a live stream or however folks are playing and do it and live that space and that must feel pretty good.
It does, yeah. It's like continuing on, the story, and I'm excited to see how people will basically do that. So.
Well, so listen, friends. Normally ThursdAGE is just an hour-long production, and but we have because everyone has been so generous with the Kickstarter. We have given you an extra 23 minutes free of charge. It is our way of saying thank you, everybody, for supporting the Kickstarter. There are 4 hours left, and a lot can happen in 4 hours. But honestly, if you haven't backed, just get in there and do it.
Tell your friends.
Get in there and do it. Tell your friends. Send a link to your mom. Go over to your neighbor and say, "Hey, have you ever heard about a 5th season?" And get them in on the deal. But it's been a joy and one of the most interesting, insightful, fun groups of people to be able to connect with. And I've really, really enjoyed it. But I have a question for LaShawn and Merrick and Hiromi, Chris, and you too, I guess. But I really, and I'm not committing, but what would it sound like to actually do an actual play together and have and play, fifth season. Maybe do a live stream or something. What do you think?
I'm game.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
He's got experience.
You know what? I would
Yeah.
do it. I would actually do it because even like during the live stream, like the more that I'm looking at it, like the more like, okay, I'm actually looking at this, and I actually would seriously do a game. So
All right.
I'm up
Well,
for
and
it.
I know, and I know I said that none of this was legally binding, but of course it is. All legally binding. Everything that you have committed to, including all of the destruction and mayhem and boil bugs and all that, is now my lawyers will be drafting up the contract, and I will come over and spit dice in your hands, and then we will play. Hey, all four of you, of course, thanks to Heather as well, who had to drop off a little bit early, but thank you so much for hanging out on ThursdAGE. It is truly, I mean, I'm glad to tell you, I could talk for another 2 hours and just pick your brains and get into it. Really, thank you very much for spending time on a Thursday, hanging out with a bunch of nerds, talking to nerds about nerdy stuff. But I sure do love it, and I truly am just filled with gratitude for just the opportunity to pick your brains.
Well, thank you for hosting.
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah,
Oh yes,
thanks for the invite.
always.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. But now we get to do this part in the waning moments of the program, and I would like to start with you, Merrick. What's happening this week? What do you got cooking? What should people know about you? Where should they find you? What should they do when they find you? Any moose training, moose evasion training
not an
programs you're running? Anything?
Cool. I stream Monday nights on twitch.tv/Massive Damage Adventures. This Monday we'll be playing, well, not playing, but making D&D maps on the Master's Toolkit by Arkenforge. And then other Mondays we play the Expanse live stream called Hellbreakers, where we are, I'm running the game, and the players are a bunch of bounty hunters in a new solar system, and we just have a good fun time. Nice short stream. This weekend I'll be writing. I have a big deadline for April 1st, where I got to knock out 25,000 words, and I'm 3,000 in, having only started on Sunday.
Okay.
In a weekend?
Well,
Okay.
I've got 6 weeks to get this done.
Okay.
Oh, I gotcha. I see.
I started on Sunday, and I've gotten 3,000 out so far, so I'm doing good. I'm on track.
Okay. All right. That's pretty good.
It's gonna be good.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm dropping a link real quick just so folks can head over to Skyhammer Press on YouTube, and then are you on Twitter as well? You are on Twitter at Skyhammer Press.
At Skyhammer.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, that project is really exciting. It is in TTRPG. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but yeah, it's for Acton Cthulhu.
Aye, very cool. Very cool. And then, of course, I don't know if we mentioned this. I know we talked a little bit about it before the stream started, but you are also going to be published in the, what is it? The Navalman's Reward, or
the Free Navy Conflict.
The Free Navy Conflict.
That's right.
And that comes out after Soul System, or as we like to call it, Hey System, Soul System. Gotta get that goal system. Yeah.
I wrote an adventure for that called, I wrote an adventure for that called Whiskey Dangerous. Or at least that's what I submitted it under. So that'll be
Whiskey Dangerous.
Yeah.
That's my new punk rock band. For me, it's more like Tequila Dangerous. But hey, Hiromi, please tell me where folks can find you. What should they do when they do you give them a prize? Do you want them to pretend like they don't recognize you? And what other things are you working on that folks should keep their eye open for?
I'm on Tumblr for the most part, but also I have Twitter and TikTok accounts. All of them are just Hiromi Kota, just my first and last name put together. I'm gonna have to look at my spreadsheet to know what all I'm working on, because it's at least 10.
Because you are
I
prolific.
4 Scion books in the works, one of which is not announced yet. So if you like Scion, stay tuned for the next, I don't know, month and change when it gets announced. Yeah, sorry. Hard for me to remember all of what I'm doing.
Well, I am at the very least going to send a link out to your Tumblr because you are doing the comms work over here with sharing fifth season stuff, and I see some reference to let me got a little error on the chat, so that might not have gone through. So I'll try it again. There you go. But Pugmire, were you supporting Pugmire as a fan, or
I also wrote for Pugmire. I basically took the framework that Eddie Webb created and then moved that forward. I also wrote the adventure for that, which is a very me adventure.
I'm frightened to know what that could possibly mean.
Generally, it means that most situations are going to have multiple paths through them, and violence is always an option. It's just not necessarily a good option. Also, I'm not involved with this aside from backing it, but Accessible Gaming Quarterly just started their Kickstarter, and the gaming world in general needs more accessibility. So I'm a big fan of Jacob Wood. I'll find the link and then throw that into the chat, or have you do it, whichever way actually works.
Yeah, I'm looking that up right now, and I see. Oh, yes. That is fantastic. I'm. Oh, you know what? Shoot, no. I mean, let's not stand on. Yeah, I will share the link, and thank you for doing that. But I was looking up Jacob Wood as well. Great stuff. Okay, fantastic. You've been just an absolute joy to work with, Hiromi, from start to finish. Really, very much appreciated all your hard work and just your willingness to connect with people who are passionate about, and taking, notes and doing so, like just being really excited to engage in that way, and to come and hang out on our live streams, which I really do appreciate myself, because if it's just me talking, people are just gonna be like, listen, you gotta cork it. It happens all the time.
Yeah, it's been great working with you as well. And also, just because I'm talking now and you can't stop me unless you can, in which case, please don't.
I won't.
I'd like to have another shout out for Heather, because people managing campaigns do not get enough thanks.
I hear you.
Super underappreciated job, and it's awesome. Like,
it's just great when you get to work with someone who does it with such ease and calmness, and because there are types of project managers who are the kind of like, I'm on fire and you are too now, and that's just Heather's just never. It's just not that way. Just a real joy to work with, and just just a true talent, just all around. So yeah, absolutely, Hermie. Well said. Now, LaShawn, you have your. Pending addiction to tabletop role-play games, which I'm going to help facilitate. So we'll figure that stuff out. You got an age library that I'm going to be sending your way. But where can people find you? Is there other areas where people can check out your writing? Is there, do they just want to kind of come over and hang out? You just read them some stuff you've got in a manuscript, or, kind of talk to me a bit about you and where folks can learn more.
Okay, so let's see, trying to think where's the best place to start. So the best way to find out what I'm doing is either on my Twitter. I'm there at T-Bone Jenkins. That's T-Bone Jenkins. T-Bone like the steak, Jenkins as whatever.
Like Leroy Jenkins. Yeah.
Like Leroy Jenkins. Don't ask me how I came up with that name. It's a very long story. But I'm also on Substack. You can find me at wanick.substack.com. And that's my newsletter. And I'm also on Facebook. So that's probably the easiest way. I'm doing a number of projects right now. Probably besides the 5th season one, I am in the production phase of working with an immersive art experience with Meow Wolf. They have these. It's kind of hard to describe what Meow Wolf is, but they have these sort of art installations. There's one in Denver, Santa Fe, Las Vegas, and it's basically they're going to be opening a new one up in Texas, and I've written the story for that.
Hey,
so
nice.
So yeah, it's a totally different way of writing a story that I was used to, but I had so much fun. And they're in the final production phase of it. It's going to be opening in the summer of this summer. So
exciting.
You can actually go to this place and see characters and basically something I wrote. It's kind of wild. so yeah, and I've seen the preliminary things that they've done to it, and oh my gosh, it's going to be so awesome. So,
well, I love that, and I'm just reading your Twitter stream, and we've dropped the link in chat as well. Folks can follow you, and I'm going to follow you because I need to find some way of making sure that you make good on your contractual agreement to come play.
That's absolutely fine. I'm
looking forward to it, LaShawn. Yeah, I think we'll have a blast. But yeah. I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah. My other role is that I'm the editor now of Giganotosaurus, which if you can see here, my little backstory. This is given to me by one of my Slush team members. We publish one. We publish a story per month, between 5,000 and 25,000 words, and so yeah, that's what I've been doing.
A little bit.
So on top of that, I've also been writing short fiction. I just recently had a story come out in the Never Too Old to Save the World anthology, which is published by Outland Entertainment. So that's available for purchase. And I'm actually currently working on a novel, which has a working title of Afro Fae Reconstruction.
Hey, it's very evocative, and I love the sound of it. But I do want to. I'm literally dismantling things as I'm talking to you because I'm so excited. I was gripping my microphone stand so tightly that I pulled it out of its base. So now it's just me sort of singing solo.
It's very punk rock.
It's very, very punk rock. You would all be gobsmacked. But LaShawn, much like everybody else on this stream, prolific. You got a ton of stuff going on. I want to thank you very much for hanging out with us today because who knew what you were getting into, and you rolled with it from gravy squatch to and everything in between. Truly a pleasure to meet you and be part of our TTRPG community. I love it. Hey, Chris, I dropped a link to. I want to make sure we call this out in chat. But if you pledged already and you'd like to increase your total, you can help us reach more stretch goals by following the link I dropped in chat and adjust your amount. Add a couple, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and
yeah, you're just basically adding whatever the cost is for the add-on that you want. So for the dice,
right.
It's like $8.
Right, and you'll get a survey and stuff, and we'll follow up with you. So it's not like we're just like, that $8 looks like, all right, Troy, load up the dice, and no, it's not like that. But
yeah, when we
so
get
Chris,
to the sorry,
please go ahead.
when we get to the pledge manager part, you'll be able to adjust your pledge as you like. So just
fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to say also hi to Tiggerite has been sharing such great stuff, and every time I'm torn between two points of interest, but let's see. Can't wait to have the homecoming in 5 years to hear how folks are playing together. Yeah, absolutely. And and that's the other thing too. Friends, if you are you're planning on doing a live stream or an actual play, or you're doing exactly. Tigrat says, "What's a decimal point anyway? Just keep it rolling. Yeah, just move it over." If you've got something planned, let us know. And you can do that by sending an email to letsplay@greenronin.com. And we'll want to talk to you about it. We will be obnoxious. But we definitely want to hear more about it. And just really, like everybody here, we want to see what are the comms that you're making? What are the what are the engagements and sort of what are issues that have kind of bubbled up that your comm has had to tackle, and are you having fun? And we want to see it and be a part of that. Also, Merrick, I dropped the. I'm not sure why links aren't working for folks who are in stream. I think every time that happens, I get something's broken, and so we'll send a note to our friends at Restream and say fix it. But in the meantime, Chris, do you have anything that you would like to share? Boy, people are really they're excited about this. Fantasy. Okay, I'm not. I don't know that. I don't know the language. It's Elven, I think.
So we're still shooting to release the PDF and to start the pre-order by the end of the month. If not, then like the first week of March. Basically, we just got in the proofing notes from the proofer we sent this off to, and also like our whole dev team has been checking things and resolving a few issues that came up during the proofreading and so on. So Hal has to make all those changes in the layouts, and Hal also always needs to spend the last amount of time to go over the look and feel and make sure it's 100% what he wants.
That's right. Make sure every pixel's in place. And but here's the thing, Gerbo the druid, what's exciting about this, and thank you for asking the question, by the way. I know that a few other people asked as well, so it's not that we're ignoring you, but don't feel ignored.
I was going to talk about it anyway. So.
Hiromi pixel loving, exactly. But I do want to say, I mean, it is getting lots of love and care, and all the love and care that you would hope it would get. And so, it is not just kind of hanging out in some, dusty library somewhere as we sort of wait for the lamenting of the Fantasy Age fans. It's actively in process, and you just can't, though we do, but you just can't rush this stuff. You got to get everybody's eyes and hands and feet and etc. Into the mix. And Duke says "Fantasy." I like that. That is our new product, Fantasy. I don't know if you guys can even see. Can you all see chat still?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
In the past, in a couple of previous streams, we've had the chat just sort of shut down for folks. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But here's what's going on here. The four of you, thank you so much for spending time hanging out in this extra long, nearly 2-hour celebration of the 5th season RPG. I'm looking at, I think that I might need to... Hang on,
refresh.
sorry. I think I need to do a little refresh as I just have to find the tab. I'm wildly flailing about in. There we go. Hey, look at that. 3 hours left.
Nice.
Yep, 2,102 backers. Not bad, friends. Not bad at all. 173 $1,622, and we're ready to roll into that 9th stretch goal, which is the 5th season encounters. And so that'll be a PDF with detailed encounters that you can customize or use as is, and will be included as part of your pledge. Let's see if so if your pledge includes any edition of the game, 5th season encounters will be included for free. And then, of course, the big 200K, which is the 5th season character folio. And is that a physical thing?
It's
Okay.
what?
I'm sorry. I was reading and mumbling as you were talking, which makes for great
so
live streaming.
everyone would get a PDF of that, and then if you wanted a print copy, we would set it up on RPG and give you a coupon so you can buy it at cost. Meaning just what it costs to produce it. But I don't know that we're going to get to $200,000 in 3 hours, but who knows?
Share widely.
Chad, it's up to you. Only you.
Chat, I'm not telling you to commit crimes, but if you went over to your arch enemy's house and you took their credit cards and charged it,
You call it a 6th season. But hey, everybody, listen. Of course, Hiromi's joking. I can see Chris breaking out into a sweat. When those aren't the kind of crimes we like you to commit. You got the list, Chat. Chat, again, just to you, friends, we really appreciate you hanging out with us. You are all our very favorite folks to hang out every single Thursday. And we have... MA Adventures, lol. But listen, friends, if you've got, there are some things coming up on the horizon that you're going to be excited about. It might rhyme with Cage, Belaters, Reliance. It's Age Creators Alliance. That was a really good rhyme, though.
God, even I was like, what?
You're like, what? The ACA, the H, do do crime. I love that. But you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes peeled for news coming. Thank you, Derek. You're awesome, and you stay awesome. No, you. But with that, remember that we're here on Mondays as well. We start at 2 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. My brain's shutting down. I keep thinking about doing crime. But for Mutants Masterminds Monday, we get to hang out with the Mutants Masterminds lead developer, Alex Thomas, and the ever youthful and yet the oldest person I've ever known, 300 years old, Steve Kenson. We'll try to get to the bottom of that mystery. But for now, the Rage Belaters Reliance. Yeah. But
he's definitely got a painting in his attic. That's all.
Seriously. Absolutely. Yeah. But the other thing that's coming, convention news, so much convention news. You are going to be like, stop spitting those dice into my hand, Troy, because I will be there. I'll be there. I won't be spitting dice into your hand, maybe into your eye. But hey, everybody, thank you again for hanging out. We're going to close out the stream before I just get too far ridiculous to even reel it back in. Everybody, have a great rest of your week. We will talk to you soon. And thank you again. And congratulations, everybody. We did it.
Woo! Thanks, everyone, for hanging out.
Thank you.